I'm still surprised that this is working as well as it has. So, hey everybody, it's Brian. I'm here. I know it's been a long time. Lady P will be on in a second, telling me 9 days is now 10 days. Um, it's apologies if you heard that. I'm having a discussion on in chat, so in Slack, but yeah. So and a lot has happened in the last I would say 10 days or so. I'm moving my stream deck around here because I'm trying to work on a few things. So, what has happened to me? Well, let's see. We did our show last Sunday, not this Sunday 2 days ago, but like a week ago. The Tuesday after, I had some issues with my computer. Weird. And then Friday, I also had issues with my computer. Again, weird. And um, I tried to troubleshoot the issue, tried to figure out what was going on because, frankly, I paid a decent amount for this new computer from Cyber Power PC. I think I've isolated what the problem was. The computer sits up, vertically, and the graphics card is such that it weighed down, and I think it weighed down enough that it is actually weighing on the PCI connection on the board and causing it to glitch, or in this case, all my screens would go black, and the only way to fix it would be to do a hard reboot. I have so far fixed what I thought was the issue by setting the computer on its side and having the GPU kind of, fit down vertically. So it's, the computer's laying flat like this with the CPU in it instead of up like this where the CPU is kind of, bending down. So, forgot lunch. So far, everything's working fine. I'd like to thank my friend Digital Warhead for helping me out. I've learned a few new tools that he turned me on to test my CPU and my GPU out. It was very helpful to have those tools and to run a stress test on my system to see if there's any kind of cooling issues. So thank you to Mr. Digital Warhead, regular contributor to our podcast and stream and Slacks and Discords. So he had a lot of good advice, a lot of good stuff that I was able to try, and ultimately it was good stuff, and I'm going to continue using that. I did this, and it seems to be working. I also upgraded the machine because I only had 16 gigs of RAM in it to 680. So I added two 32 gig RAM bits in there. So it now has a decent amount of RAM as well, in addition to the 3060 graphics card. So I can do things like my background is not really a background. It's it's a fake background. So it's just a chroma that is created by NVIDIA because I have a better graphics card now. So I was able to get rid of my green screen because I don't have a green screen anymore. So you'll see where some things are fractally and whatever. So which is kind of cool. So it saves me some time and effort trying to set up my chroma and everything and get everything just so because of distances and spacing and what have you. So the other thing that happened is I went and saw a doctor. And so, content warning here, this is mental health stuff. So if you don't want to hear the mental health stuff, please feel free to bugger off. I am a huge supporter of Miss Berlin and Hackers for Health that brings awareness to mental health. I'd be remiss if I didn't share my own mental health issues. That is what this segment is going to be. We're not going to talk about it the whole time. I'm open to questions if anybody has any. I have some stuff from my doctor, handouts of non-PHI nature, but it is enough to know that I did go get screened for some things, and we're going to try some stuff. So I am 44, almost 45 years old. And I have been dealing, I think, probably with these issues for probably a good 20, 25, 30 years. and I just haven't really saw that, right? A lot of people in the infosec community, I don't know if it's just us or we're just more open about it, but we talk about our mental health issues. And I see a lot of folks in our industry who, I don't say suffer, but they have ADHD, they have ADD, they have, they're on the spectrum, if you will. And a lot of times I would see checklists or people saying things about, have you ever noticed, have an ADHD or have an ADD and you do this thing? And I look at it, I'm like, well, fuck, I do that. Or, somebody will be like, oh, this is what it's like to have ADD. And you're like, God damn, that's like, I can check 7 of those 10 things off. Some of those things hit really close to home. And so, the recent move that I had here from Seattle to San Diego, I don't want to say amplified it, but it definitely caused some stress that I didn't realize I had. And some of it was procrastination. Some of it was, I don't want to have to deal with that because it's boring. And some of the stuff I do at work is like, does it really matter? It's, some of the things that I have to embrace because it's part of my job are things that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And I don't want it to be impacting my job performance. So I went and saw my doctor and I said, hey, I need to get screened for ADD, ADHD. So I did a good, bit of discussion with her. We talked about my life, talked about what childhood was like, what's my relationship with my family, my wife, my daughter. What do you like about your job? What do you do for a living? That kind of stuff. And, then we filled out a bunch of questions, which I told her, I was like, look, on any given day, I am or not these things. And she's like, that's fine. That's why they're yes, no. If you've had episodes of these things, say yes. If you cannot mention it or remember a time where you've not done that, say no. And she's like, at some point you'll be like, oh, yeah, that should have been a no, or that should have been, that should have been a yes, or what have you, or that'll be a no, or yeah, I really, I muffed that. I remember this thing. So I went through a lot of these questions, and some of them were like, have you missed opportunities because you procrastinated or didn't do something? Or the ones that I call out are the ones that I'm like, fuck, okay, yeah. Have you, have you tried using multiple calendar systems or ways of keeping track of tasks or keeping up to date on things and finding yourself failing at all those things? And I was like, yeah, I've done that. So there were a number of things there, and some of the goals that I wrote down, because there were some goals as well that the doctor had said, hey, once you're done with these questions, write down 3 goals that you were trying to, hoping to get out of this. And one of the things that I was like, I see people around me that I've worked with like 4 or 5 years ago, and they're now like senior managers and CISOs, and they're doing their own thing and whatever. And I was like, I'm not at the level they are. And, I don't know if I'm just being, braggadocious, but I'm like, I should be as, I feel like I should be further in my career. And it's like, do I suck, or is there something wrong with me? Some of that's come into focus recently because I've been trying to help a friend of mine find a job, and they're having really hard time with it because of some circumstances that happened with layoffs and whatever. They've had like 5 jobs in 3 years, and it's like, that sucks. And they're having trouble finding a job, and people are, basically saying the same thing. It's like, look, we don't hire people that have had a really short job experience, kind of thing. And, I was like, well, I haven't been at a job for more than 4 years at a time. So since I left the Navy in 2004, hey, Ange, how you doing? Hey, Maddox12, how you doing? Thank you. Yeah, the hyper focus. Yeah. So, I've not had a job for longer than 3.5, 4 years since I got out of the Navy. So, and that's better than some, right? A lot of the indicators the doctor had basically said was, you show more than normal signs of having some sort of focus issue or behavioral issue. And the problem with me is I see that and I procrastinate, and then it's either I rush through to get the shit done and it's kind of, half-assed, or I stress out over it to the point where I start getting into a spiral, and then it causes me pressure and it causes me stress. And about a year ago, I was having some panic attacks, but that wasn't related to the move. But it was like, I was having some issues like that. And I'm not young anymore, so getting laid off at my company, I'm not, not saying it's a death nail, but I'm 44 years old. They're looking for, 20, 25-year-olds that are like wanting to work 120 hours a fucking week. And I'm like, yeah, no, thanks. So we're, we're, we went through this, and it was about a 2.5 hour discussion. And she said, let's go ahead and see what we can do about, options and things that you can do. So she sent me a bunch of stuff. Hey Walt, how you doing? Um, so yeah, so she sent me some information, some literature about different types of stuff. I told her that at one point when I was in San Diego back in like 2004, 2005, I had gone to the doctor to suggest something, and he had put me on Adderall for, like a 10-pack dosage kind of thing. And I told her, I was like, my experience with it was not good. I was, for those of you who know what the Coronado Bridge is in San Diego, I was driving across it one time, and I was, taking the Adderall stuff. And I distinctly remember feeling like I was sitting on my shoulder watching myself drive. And I remember two things at that point. It was like, I don't want to take Adderall anymore, and I probably shouldn't be driving. And luckily I made it home, no problems. But it was at that point I was like, yeah, I'm not going to take this shit again. And she was like, yeah, people do, depending on the dosage it is, do have some reactions to the Adderall. It's that's something that happens. And I was like, it was enough for me to just go, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm not gonna deal with that anymore. So, and so she also asked me. She said, "Are you a worrier?" And I asked her, I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, do you go through a lot of like what ifs to the point where you feel like you're paralyzed by being able to analyze every situation to figure out what those things are?" And I looked at her and I was like, "I'm in information security, and that's pretty much our job, right? To figure out the what ifs." And I was like, yeah. But then I was like, I thought further back, and I was like, wow, yeah, I was a worrier in school too, like in elementary school and middle school and stuff. Um, and so I was like, maybe there's something to that too. Um, you know, uh, yeah. So, a long story short, uh, I am going to be trying out some medication, and with the idea that um, things are going to improve. And now there are far more options these days than there used to be. This is the oh wait, let me shrink that browser window. This is not Dr. Gray is not my doctor. This is some of the handouts that she gave me. She said, yeah, she used the analogy of putting on glasses, or it's like she's like, your leg is broken, but all you know is that your leg has been broken. Everyone else is walking around with two legs that work well. And she's like, medication is to help fix the leg and to help you walk a little better. A limp, maybe you'll end up with a limp and you won't have, that it was an analogy, and I was okay with that. We use a lot of analogies in infosec. Right, the focus thing, and was exactly what Dr. Liu said, uh, and so yeah, that was the thing. It was the focus, and it was on the way home after having these discussions with her. I was like, I'm taking medication so that I can work at my company, because she was like, well, what else do you do for fun? I was like, oh, I love podcasting. It's like I can have a shitty day at work, and it's like I want to get up and I want to go and do my podcasts, or I want to do my stream. I was like, that invigorates me. She's like, yeah, because you're interested in doing that. The work is boring. You don't want to do the fucking work. And I was like, that sounds kind of petulant, right? Like a child, like, "Oh, I don't want to do my work." And she's like, no, it's just you don't find it's tedious and it's boring and it's that's your job and you have to make money and she's like, a lot of people who start these medications end up doing a career change because they have the drive, they have the fortitude, they have the ability to focus on something to make it happen. Right, Andrea, the meds usually help with having time to focus. It helps my son so much for school. Yeah, I can imagine. She asked about my school too, and I was like, I barely graduated high school, but I could ace the exams in class. My teachers were like, yeah, Brian's a smart kid, but he doesn't do the homework, so he ends up with C's, D's, and F's. The only class I ever got an A in, I think, was gym, and that's not hard to pass. You just kind of show up and run around a little bit. But yeah, she was like, yeah, that's I don't take the meds, but it feels like I have a lower level of it. Yeah, I that was the one thing I kind of I raised to her. I was like, these questionnaires are very subjective, right? And she's like, yeah, they're very subjective, but you have to be honest with yourself. And I told her, I was like, some days I am, complete, I'm procrastinating or, there. She's like, you have to be honest with yourself, and I was like, okay, and a couple of those, I was like, oh God, that hits me right in the grundle. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I've done that. Yep, that happens a lot. Okay, yeah. She also ruled out things like depression. She was like, if you go to work and you don't want to do any work, but then it's like you get done with work and you don't want to do the podcast or the stream, that may be indicative of something else, like a depression or some kind of phase like that. And I was like, no, I can work a 12-hour day and then go and do a podcast or something. I was like, that invigorates me. It's like, it feels like I should quit my job and be a podcaster or something. And she's like, yeah, if that energizes you. And I was like, yeah, ones of people will be watching my show, and it's like, I don't, if I was going to do something like that, would have been, several years ago or several years back. So, so the idea is I'm going to be taking something called Stratera. She suggested it. There's several types. It's like they have a patch, they have a pill, obviously. Several of these had really bad side effects, like, can cause liver issues. Let me shut my door. Liver issues. One of them, I think, said, oh, it could cause death because it's pretty much amphetamines, right? So it's a stimulant. She said that I'd have to monitoring my heart rate, but the fact that I work out regularly should not be a huge issue. But yeah, it's it. The thing that sucks is, and the other thing that I was thinking about was, I'm 44 years old, and I wish, had I have been 8 years old, 9 years old now, my life might have had a different trajectory. I would have been, hopefully my mother would have had the wherewithal to have me screened or have me looked at to the point where I would have been somewhat medicated, or we would have been able to identify these things and to make it happen. Maybe I wouldn't work with security. You're absolutely right, Ange. Yeah, my wife actually made that comment. She was like, she feels like she may have some sort of OCD or light OCD, but she felt predisposed to being a project manager, program manager. She's like, you have a pessimism about you, and you have a what if and a worrier kind of thing about you, which seems to fit exactly in the facet of information security. And I was like, fuck me, it's like predisposed to information security, must be a warrior and must be a negative person. And I was like, motherfucker. So I'm learning a lot about myself this week. And the problem is with a doctor telling me that I have potentially ADHD, I'm assuming that she is leaning towards, yes, I have it. I'm at work now and I'm overanalyzing everything that I do. Yeah. So I'm actually thinking about telling my boss I need to take the rest of the week off so that I can process this stuff. So Yeah, Ange, that was what I thought too. Is like everybody's got to be on the spectrum at some point, or have some sort of hyperactivity disorder. She called it executive level function, I think. Let me see where. I think it was in here too. Um, so yeah, this was an article she got from a doctor in Canada, but I tried the Adderall, and this guy apparently says I don't prescribe Adderall, which is more than fine with me. I don't know what bifenton is. I think that's Canadian, but this Vyvanse thing was another one. It's like a patch, and I was like, oh, cool. Ritalin, obviously, Strattera. There's the one. Non-stimulant medication works slowly and subtly. It takes up to several months to make a noticeable change, so it won't happen immediately. And it will change some things. But this was the thing that I found interesting about this discussion. She said, make sure you read this because it's like, you may not notice anything immediately, or you may notice a big difference and everything is much clearer. Um, Notice a change, but then it plateaus. You may experience a side effect you don't like, and some of the some of the side effects on these things. One of them was like erections lasting 4 hours or longer, or you know, may cause death. And I was like, well, that kind of sucks. Because it's speed basically, and if you're not in the best of shape or you have pre-existing condition, you could, flatline. Not this kind of flatline. I mean, like legit, worms meat kind of thing. So what what I was told my wife and my daughter, I was like, need to set a behavioral baseline, need to see if things have improved, if things have changed, if I, try to write down things that I do at work. Yeah, and Dr. Lee started me out on a low dose kind of version. Obviously, not going to drop me up to, not going to turn it up to 11 immediately. The idea is to, move up to that or have options to be able to move to a stimulant or non-stimulant version. Um, yeah, third parties, the observer will notice a change immediately. I'm choosing to not let management know. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I trust my manager. I just don't know if that's my manager's business. The last thing I want is also to it be used as an excuse. Oh, Brian, he's just got ADHD or something. That was the other thing. It was the stigma, and what she said is people who are still in somewhat denial will have that stigma, and that was my thing. It's like I don't have a problem. I'm just me, right? That's the way I've always been. And she's like, maybe the way you've always been is not the way you could have been. Maybe you could have been better. Maybe. And I'm like, ugh. And she's like, she sees it a lot with people who've been recently promoted because the executive function, kind of like the book "What Got You There Won't Get You Here" kind of stuff. When they get promoted, they take on a bunch of extra work. There's new priorities. There's new stuff to put on the plate, and they find that you know it's not performance enhancing. It's like, oh, I need to fix myself. Like, I've got a rumble in the trunk, and it's like, oh, okay, now I need to figure out what's up. It's all about helping you. Don't try and mind what others think. I appreciate that, Ange. Yeah, I've been trying to process that as best I can, and I want to make sure that and that's why I was trying to be open with everybody here because I'm not perfect. And I love the stuff that Miss Berlin does. But I was probably living in denial for a long time. It was like, oh, I don't have a problem. Kind of like a drug addict, I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime. I can be a productive member of society. I can find writing and attending meetings and dealing with, bullshit boring, and make it exciting and do my work. And, I've been working at this place for about 2 years in this job, and I'm wanting to get a promotion, but I see the brag sheets from folks that are one level high that have been promoted from my level up to one more. And I see the brag sheets on some of these folks and I'm like, fuck, I got to be like a goddamn saint to be able to do this stuff. It's like, this person's done 15 different things. I'm like, fuck, I wouldn't do half those things because they're boring. And is there any real value to those things? And so, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So, I bet you over 50% of infosec folks have ADD, and that's why we're so good at it. Exactly, Ange. You know, 100%. I completely agree, and that's why I was like, we, my wife, the insightful person she is, um, she was like, "You're predisposed for infosec," and I was like, "Fuck." So yeah, it was just interesting. It was just and you know, I think I've talked about this before, Mr. Betcher and myself. We were talking about our origin story. I agonized over the podcast, just doing the podcast 10 years ago. I probably spent a good 7 or 8 months going, what if people don't like it? What if it sucks? I've actually said this in the podcast. So if you go back and listen to some of our origin story stuff, I have remembered saying, you know, what if nobody watches? What if nobody, you know, cares? What if people tell me it sucks? That kind of thing. And then when I actually spent almost 2 years delaying the stream because I was like, I want to get into this, but it's like, what if nobody watches? What if it sucks? What if, you know, what if I can't make it work? What if I can't have a go at it? And you know, doing things like impulse buying, which was a huge thing on that list as well. It's like, oh, can you not go into a place without buying something? I was like, oh God, oh, oh God, that hurts me right in the grundle. Oh, I'm just kicking myself in the teeth here. When I was single and I lived in Monterey, I would go to the mall and I would always have something. I would always buy something, even if it was food. Go into a Sam Goody, for those of you who don't know what the hell that is. That's a CD store where they used to make music on these plastic things that spin. I would come out of there with no less than 150 bucks. 150 bucks worth of music, which was probably about 20 CDs. I mean, a lot of my CD collection came from my time in Monterey. I would go into the Sam Goody and it would be like, it's Sunday, I'm going to spend another 150 bucks on music. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I feel weird about going into a place and not buying anything because I feel like I'm just loitering, right? Yeah. So, and I appreciate your insights. I'm glad your son is getting the help that he needs, and I'm hoping that y'all have noticed a difference in that. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm sure it's going to take some time to dial these things in, and you know, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I don't know your entire issue or scenario, but I appreciate that. Um, so yeah, I don't know what this is going to look like in about a couple months, but I did hit up my doc and I said, hey, let's get this shit started. You know, let's you know, when I'm motivated to do stuff, I'll do it right now. Um, and so the other thing was we have these things called leadership principles at work. That we have, and a lot of the leadership principles appear to be geared towards people who have ADHD, like disagree and commit, or you know, uh, you know, there's a lot of them, but it's like some of them are like being decisive, or rolling with the punches, or yeah. I appreciate that, Ange. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's just interesting to see. I don't want to say through new lenses. It's like somebody's put on some glasses right now. They're still kind of fuzzy, but it feels like recognizing that there was a problem, or reaching out and looking for help was helpful for me. So, if anything, I can identify that I now have a problem, and I'm going to work through that. So, won't be the last time I probably talk about this, and I'll probably bring it up with Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin the next time we talk. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, outside of the stream, if you don't feel comfortable putting them in the chat here, just hit me up on Discord, hit me up on Slack, hit me up on Twitter or whatever. I can tell you about my experience, but it won't be your experience. At least that's how I feel about it. And everybody's different, has a different experience with this. Some of the drugs, actually, the doctor said I may have to cut down on my caffeine. I may have to cut down on my edibles. I may have to cut down on I may end up with insomnia some nights, depending on how things work, or if I don't take it at the same time every day. So there's some things that are going to change, and maybe I won't need the edibles once I start taking this, because I kind of use those for focus and for calming myself. So that may actually be some reason I'm taking those, which means I'm going to legal speed now instead of, well, the stuff I take is legal here in California and Washington. But yeah, So there we go. Um, anyway, so there is some news. Shifting gears to infosec. Um, so let me see. Yeah. So the trifecta has occurred. There's an Atlassian bug. There's also a Citrix bug, and I believe there's a Cisco bug. So we have a triumvirate of shitty ass bad bugs out there that's happening right now. Not that one. There was a Cisco bug. Cisco Web UI. Yes, 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 Ange. There was a Cisco bug. Yeah, tens of thousands of iOS XE. I don't know what iOS XE is. It seems like it's big enough that people care, but Cyberscoop says actors are actively exploiting this to target telecoms companies. This is yet another one of those where your web admin UI is sitting out on the internet. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't. So yeah, thousands of internet-facing iOS XE web interfaces that have been implanted. This is a import. Cisco's aware of active exploitation. Remote unauthenticated, so on RCE, so it's like a 10. They don't have a number on here yet, but usually unauthenticated RCE is like level mucho bad. Level 15 privileged access, so that's like super admin kind of thing. They suggest software patching whenever available. It's been published. And yeah, it's at least 34,000 devices have been reported by census, 4,600 of which are in the United States. So yeah, right, exactly. And it's like, win and we're in, and we have, we control all that you see and hear. Predominantly represent telecom companies offering internet services to both households and businesses. Well, that's fine. It's fine. No problems. No problems. To backtrack, she asked me about my speech. She's like, I noticed a lot of ums and ahs, and she's like, that will reduce when you start on this stuff because it's like your brain is literally running away with you, and you're thinking faster than you can speak. So that's hopefully another good thing. I won't have to have a lot of ums and ahs. Of course, that means I'll be extremely slow talker. No, I'm just kidding. That's not how that works. So yeah, so Cisco. It's got to be a really hard job to be a Cisco spokesman. I'm thinking, spokesperson. Sorry, spokesperson. Their PR playbooks are super tight. We provide software fix. We strongly urge customers to take immediate action. We care about your privacy and security. At this time, no customer data has been breached. Yeah. So they became aware of the issue in September 28th and was reported to the company's TAC, Technical Assistance Center. And the analysis showed related activities early September 18th. So, wow, they were 10 days late already on their own bug. It was only 10 days later after somebody had said something. So, exactly, Hange. We may have to revise that statement. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. It leverages a previous vulnerability. Okay, so this is a follow-on, a chain, if you will, to install an implant after gaining access to the device. Obviously, so we've also seen devices fully patched against this still getting the implant. So yeah, there's an additional bit there, right? Enterprise switches, wireless controllers, access points, industrial. I still don't understand. Still don't understand that why we allow things like web UIs to have access to the internet. I get it. You want to manage your devices sitting at home on your couch at 8 o'clock at night. You don't want to have to get up and go into the office or go up to your office and start your Cisco box or something. There needs to be, when you set these up, your network info folks need to be mindful of these kinds of things. Yes, there's convenience, but then you get this kind of thing, right? It could have been behind a simple, you can add controls. You can add mitigations. For detection, Palo Alto did a nice analysis. Oh, let's go look, Ange. Okay. I do find, oh, okay. Talos. Okay, Talos. Yeah, I think this was the blog they were probably referencing. Good catch there, Ange. Appreciate that. I'm going to post these links up to the chat as well so everybody has access to those. Threat actors. Oh, we'll talk about the Atlassian one in a second. So Cisco's doing postmortem on their own stuff, which is kind of interesting. I wonder what the autonomy is like there when the lessons learned for this thing that's coming up. So this affects both physical and virtual devices running Cisco iOS XE that also have this scares the shit out of me right here. Having HTTP or HTTPS features enabled. There shouldn't be HTTP. Right. The recommendation Cisco provided is to disable the HTTP server feature. Okay, great. Let's do the HTTP function because I'm hoping that at least the authentication portion goes through HTTPS, but then all the other traffic and everything goes over HTTP. Even that's not good, but it's like you're going to get passwords from people, sniffing that traffic or being able to host in the middle or actor in the middle kind of stuff. Yeah. Initial access. So received highest common, 10 critical. Successful exploit will allow attacker full admin privileges, giving them effectively full control of the router and possible subsequent unauthorized activity. Yeah, once you have full access, you can add whatever you want, like the implants that we talked about on 1435. Implant analysis. So it's based on Lua, 29 lines of code. Oh, let's look at that. Let's maximize this bad boy. Okay. So this is the code they use, right? 40, third function dictated by logon hash parameter. Checks to see if the parameter matches a 40-character hexadecimal string encoded in the implant. Okay, so yeah, here's the hash. It's interesting. So Cisco _service.conf. It's hiding in plain sight, right? Who's gonna question Cisco _service.conf? So yeah, there's your Lua. Content. Here's the content. The hash is right here. Wow. Okay, so that's 40 lines of code is all you need to make an implant. That probably doesn't take up a lot of space on the system. So yeah, that's interesting stuff. Implant code. Oh wait, let me. Okay, there we go. Okay, it doesn't reflow well whenever you blow it up to 200%. Most instances we've observed of this implant installed 18-character hexadecimals in the second function and 40-character hexadecimals in the third are unique, although in some cases these strings were the same across different devices. Suggests there's a way for the actor to compute the value used in the third function from the value returned by the second. Okay, acting as a form of auth required for the arbitrary code execution provided in the third function. Okay. Wow, organization. Okay, so here's one of the IOCs or the TTPs. Look for unexplained or newly created users, potentially malicious activity relating. One method to identify is to run the following command against the device where the device IP is a placeholder for the IP address to check. The check should use the HTTP schema if the device is only configured for an insecure web interface. Oh, God. That hurts to say, if you're only using, HTTP, that kills me. It kills me. It's funny they're using curl because there's an active curl issue too. So that will, however, be a lot of FP from external scanners for login hash one. That makes sense. Yeah. This will execute a request from the web device's UI if the implant is present. If the request returns a hexadecimal string similar to what was outlined. Okay. All right, because logon hash it's in that bit of code, isn't it? Let me see here. Yeah, logon hash parameters logon underscore hash. So if logon underscore hash exists, that is not something that Cisco has. That's something that the other system. The logon hash is redacted, right? So, but logon hash is something that's specific to this con file that is, So you're calling that, and then it will this is the long bit here is what it will send back to you. Um, so yeah, and you can do that without even being on the machine. So bad guys could potentially use this too to figure out what you're doing. First snort ID is an older rule that covers 2021 1435, and the last three alert if interaction of the implant occurs. So if you're using snort or source fire in this case from Cisco, weird, they already have those in place. And disable the HTTP and HTTPS server feature. Okay, so Cisco, yeah, provided to disable the server feature. I wonder how much pushback they're going to get for that, though, because it's like, I just don't get it. Why do manufacturers allow for external facing interfaces? Cisco should know better. And this should be like one of those things where it's like, okay, we've had enough CVSS 10s. We're not going to allow internet facing web UI admins. And if you don't like it, fuck you, we're Cisco. Go get something else that's garbage. But we're tired of patching CVSS 10s. Why doesn't Cisco do that? I'm sure there's a business reason. Once I start getting my meds in, I'll start asking those questions a lot smarter. But it's like there must be some. There's probably a business reason for it, but it should be one of, like I said in previous shows, there should be like, you've got to dig super deep into the config to the point where it's like, are you sure you want to do this? There's going to be a lot of sleepless nights for you and your IR team if you do this stupid thing. Are you really, really sure? Oh yeah, make sure you're really, really sure. And then, then do it. Customer needs to access it, and depending on where the device is placed within the network. I get that, Ange. I get that. And there are some legitimate places inside the network where that is a thing. Exposed to the internet? Like world plus dog internet? I don't get it. Maybe an MSP, I can understand that if an MSP needs to gain access to it, but that's why we have VPNs that we can give them, or that's why we have these technologies to segregate that off. I mean, yes, we have VPN. We have, other authentication processes. If at a minimum, everybody who has access to that web admin, two-factor auth. Two-factor auth. Make it happen. Some kind of octopush. Make it more difficult than just 1921, 10.10. Whatever, from the internet, and then 24. Here's a web UI. Own this thing up. It's like there needs to be something else in place to get that point. I don't know what it is, and that's me ranting. Yes, some kind of VPN or access control. You're absolutely correct. So yeah, these are the kinds of stuff that you save in your bookmarks or the "I told you so" folder. So that way, when somebody says, "Hey, I think we should expose that to the internet," you can be like, "Here's 15 Cisco articles with 15 CVEs that you just bought this Cisco kit that had, and you want to do this. Here's 15 news stories about 15 different CVEs where it was pre-auth RCE, and a lot of them happened on a Friday. If you want to be here on a Friday fixing this and mitigating this and decrapifying your kit that now has an implant in it, be my guest." Legacy setup that has never changed. That's true. That's true, Walt. You're absolutely correct. People don't want to fix old setups. I just think that it just feels like going forward, Cisco should be like, we're going to change things for all of the new kit that we're going to sell. So here's day zero. Starting after this, we're not going to allow certain configurations. And I think Cisco has the the Huevos Rancheros to be able to do that. I think they do. And they're looking out for the customer, right? We're protecting you from yourselves, right? If you've got legacy junk, at some point you're going to upgrade that stuff. When you do, goodbye web admin to expose to the internet. You'll have to set up a VPN for somebody to get to your web UI admin. Right? They don't see the cost until after. Yeah. How many every one of these vulnerabilities, there's probably a handful of teams that are like, I don't really like working on Friday nights at 9 o'clock and trying to decrapify my Cisco box that has a pre-auth RCE, level 10, and China's owned us up and done God knows what inside of our network. This is going to be a lessons learned of like, okay, why did we have that open and why did they laterally move through our network as easily as they did? Oh, well, we've enabled the web UI. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So I'm hoping that even if one company turns off their web UI, they win. The funny thing is the government said they've provided in the past mitigating risk from internet exposed management interfaces. This would be something as a vendor I would ask my third parties that I want to work with. What's your configurations like? Because if you do this kind of shit, what else are you doing inside your company? This is basic hygiene stuff. Do you allow web interfaces like this to your internet? Are you a good risk then? As we've seen in the past, third parties are the ones that get owned, right? That it's not me that's going to get owned. It's my next door neighbor who has access to the house, keys to my house. Okay, they still got in. I've got all the locks and everything. Joe Bob Billy's got the key, so he'll just, somebody will just laterally move through their network into my network, and I'm owned. But anyway, it is what it is. Citrix, to add to it, the whole unholy trinity. I just saw this one today. I think this just came out today. Citrix NetScaler 2023-4966. So this is an old one. They've known about this, or that's incorrect. They actually give you blocks of CVE numbers now based on, like where you sit in this thing. So Citrix may have like 20 or 30 numbers that they've been given just in case they have CVE. So the number looks like it's super early in 2023. That's not necessarily the case. Kind of like ICANN, they give out IP address ranges. I think CVE scores or CVE numbers are given like a range of a range of scores. So this is an O-Day bug that they've known for months before a patch was issued. Researchers expect exploitation efforts to surge. This is a 9.4, and it can't be fully remediated by simply applying the patch. So, to point organizations to terminate all active connections. Here's a LinkedIn post. Okay, so we've got... last week, the Citrix issued a security bulletin for security vulnerability related to disclosure of NetScaler ADC and NetScaler gateways. This is not a remote code exec vulnerability. Please prioritize the deployment of this. Okay. Successful exploitation could result in the ability to hijack existing authenticated sessions. And bypass multi-factor auth. Shit. Well, if you're using Citrix to log in to fix your Cisco Web UI, there you go. Shit, it's all connected in the great circle of crap, I guess. Very important. Organizations need to do more than apply the patch. You should terminate all active sessions, and then the authenticated sessions will persist after the update has been deployed. Okay, so there's something in like their authentication patch, or there's something in the way the connection is established that is insecure. So you can run the patch, and every new connection is secure, but there's something in the negotiation or something in how A and B connect and communicate with one another that's causing the issue. So you need to terminate all your existing connections and get that in. That's what it's feeling like to me. I haven't read the write-up on CVSS or CVE 2023-4966. Let's see. Detail. Okay. Sensitive information disclosure. VPN. So there you go, Ange. VPN access. So in the virtual VPN server, ICA proxy, whatever CVPN is, RDP proxy. Okay. So, interesting. So the base score was a 7.5, but Citrix upgraded it to a 9.4. NVD analysts use publicly available information to associate vector strings and scores relative to display CVSS provided within the CVE list from the CNA. It is possible that CVSS may not match that of the CNA. Okay. The most common reason is that publicly available information does not provide sufficient detail, or that information simply was not available at the time the CVSS was assigned. This is very similar to how libwebp was. Came out as an 8.8. Only the browsers were patched. Oh, it was only Firefox. It was only Chrome. Everybody patched that, and then Google's like, oh shit, it's in FFmpeg, it's in ImageMagick, it's in OpenCV, it's in WebRTC, it's compiled in a bunch of other things. We probably need to boost this to a 10. So they tried to submit another CVE number, and NIST said, yeah, no, we're good. It's a duplicate of the other one. So really, libwebp should have been a 10. It's actually only an 8.8, which we had to explain to our management about that. So NVD says 7.5. Citrix is like, yeah, no, it's a 9.4, y'all. Let's fix that. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can use that. Yeah, these are stories that I was telling people in our CISSP boot camp we were doing, that is still going on. Actually, I did the first week and the second week because I was doing the asset management module, chapter 2, and the networks and telecoms module, chapter 4, which is one of the biggest ones. Keep track of these articles because you can use them to prove your point when something happens. So, put them in Internet Archive, take a screenshot, print a PDF, do something so that when somebody says, hey, let's do that, and you'll be like, Cisco's not very good at, securing their web UIs. Make this happen. Or, Citrix is a really high priority thing. They get a lot of vulnerabilities. Where's the proof? Okay, here's 15 things, that kind of thing. If you're like, oh, well, let me go search for it, you've already lost. So yeah, that's Cisco. Yeah. So to date, Mandiant has observed exploitation at professional services, technology, and government organizations. Okay, so yeah, so professional services. So that'd be like IT places, your IT service providers. So what they're trying to do is, vendor access, which, like I said, my next door neighbor's got my key, has trusted access to my internal network, and you can just walk in, which is what the professional services people can do. We don't know which threat actors behind these currently, but we're assessing whether it's a group focused on cyber espionage. Supply chain, right, Ange. Supply chain, yes. Or vendor management kind of stuff too as well, yeah. So yeah, there you go. Wow, that's rough. That's rough. Being able to bypass MFA as well, yeah, because it's an already established session. So I've already put in my codes. I've already did my Octopush or whatever the hell it is I use for that. For instance, earlier in the month, it came to light legions of attackers are still targeting 2023 3519, which has a 9.8 score, which is also a pre-auth RCE in Cisco NetScaler gateways. That was addressed in July, but I exploited it as a 0-day a month before that. Okay, so if you've got Cisco and Citrix as some of your tech stack, you're not having a good month or year for forever. Ouch, So patch all the things and reset all, do the patch, but then shut your Citrix server down and reboot it. There you go. Exactly, Ange. Yeah, I'm going to allow that one. I should not have allowed it to permanently or add permitted term your shit. Oh my goodness. Okay. No, it's okay, Angie. Geez, that's funny. That's funny. Patch your shit. That's right. Patch your shit and reboot your systems. There you go. That'll get rid of any existing sessions, and then everything will be fine. Just tell everybody you've got to apply the patch and reboot, just like Windows. That kind of thing. What was the third one? libcurl turned out to be kind of a nothing burger. Ironically. Atlassian. That was it, right? Atlassian? Atlassian was the one. Yes. News. Yeah, there we go. Even the FBI says you need to patch this Atlassian Confluence bug right now. I'm sensing a theme. So 2 of our 3 unholy trinity of bugs is pre-auth RCE or really really bad connected systems kind of thing. So 2023 22515 actively exploited in low complexity, high damaging attacks that don't require victim interaction to be successful. In the security advisory, which CISA sent out, CISA seems to be doing a better job of sending these things out. It's not like InfraGard was back in the day where they were super sus and very not specific about things. It was like, oh, you might want to look over in this general direction of your network. Some bad stuff is happening that people are doing, and it's a month late. And you're like, okay, I already heard about that on Twitter. So, yeah, you're good. So let me see. Exploited as a 0-day to obtain access to victim systems and continue active exploitation post-patch. Atlassian rated this critical vulnerability, and it's widespread. So this broken access control vulnerability following versions of Atlassian Confluence Data Center and Server. So all of these versions before 8.0, including before 8.0, are not affected by this vulnerability. Wait, I need to reread that. Atlassian cloud sites access. Okay, so Atlassian has fixed it in the cloud, but if you're using an on-prem version, you're still bad. Threat actors can change the server configuration to indicate the setup is not complete and use setup administrator.action endpoint to create a new administrator user. Oh, that's a good one. I mean, that's bad. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. But it's still bad, right? Don't get me wrong. Wow. Considering the root cause of the vulnerability allows threat actors to modify critical configuration settings, CISA, FBI, and MSISAC assess the threat actors may not be limited to creating new administrator. Well, yeah, if you've got an administrator account, you've got your God, right? Yeah. Goodness. Example configuration file templates are listed in the following figures or populated with credentials of the exfiltration point. Yeah, so you've got secret keys inside of config files. User agent strings are observed in the request headers as additional threat actors begin to use the CVE due to the availability of publicly posted proof of concept code. Variation in user strings is accepted. So I wouldn't use those. Those are garbage. I mean, anybody can put curl in there. Yeah, those are kind of garbage. I wouldn't necessarily use those. If these IPs are still available, block them. Depends on, this is the official rclone.org website. Ooh, that's rough. rclone.org, I bet they didn't know that they were owned. Somebody's got access to their back end and being able to use their systems to do nefarious shite. So Proofpoint emerging threat signatures have some ways of finding this information if you want to go and check that out. If you use Proofpoint, I mean. Hopefully you don't have Atlassian exposed to the internet. Darkgate payload delivery uses curl. Auto. Yeah. It's amazing all the things that use things like libcurl or libwebp. These are very much log4j-like attacks. A lot of IoT devices use libcurl or curl implementations to download updates because it's a lightweight way of making TCP transactions. So if you have devices in your house, check for patches for libcurl specifically, or if you work at a company who makes IoT devices, or you're one of product security people, might be useful to go check out libcurl. It was a nothing burger. I mean, I think the issue was you have to be running a SOCKS 5 proxy. You have to have a domain name or a host name that is more than so many characters to create the overflow that causes the issue. So there's a bit of complexity involved. I think the developer who wrote the bug in did a blog post about how he put a bug inside of curl, and it talked about that. And he's like, really, the only use case he could think of for that would be as if you use Tor and you use curl with a SOCKS 5 proxy or something like that. A lot of the URLs for Tor sites are fairly large, right? So you can overflow that buffer real good. I've managed to crash their server access violation on dartgate.exe. Need some more research to utilize it though. Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, so it's the unholy trinity. You've got your Atlassian, you've got your Citrix, you've got your Cisco. Maybe there's some stuff coming up. I don't know. For OpenSSL is coming out with a new release on the 24th. Thankfully, I think somebody had mentioned it in our chat, in our Slack chat. I believe there's only 2 medium findings, so it's not going to be crushingly bad. OpenSSL mailing list. Let me see. Where is that at? I think that's it. Project. Let's see. Archives. Thread. Yeah, OpenSSL release. Here it is. Yeah. So sorry, moderate, not medium. So yeah, 2 security fixes will be made available Tuesday, 24 October 2023 between 13 and 1700 UTC. Now, moderate means like CVSS scores, but depending on what you're using it for, may not be moderate. It may be critically bad. Not saying you don't have to worry about them, but usually they get more news if they're highs or criticals. And I think the developer who had put out the thing about libcurl, I made a mistake there. I'm going to call that a mistake. Just because he thought it was going to be terabad or it was the worst one we've had in a while. There was a lot of things that needed to happen for that one to be activated. So yeah, there's probably should, yeah, it was I think it was overhyped because why would a developer, one, we're deciding to ship early, which nobody ships early, not unless there's some kind of major issue, and the fact that it was like, oh, and we also have a high issue. Never really, this was the worst that they'd had in a while. And because there was a legal, the way the person also played it up, they were in some kind of legal embargo, like it was a really bad kind of bug where it was like, this was going to be crushingly bad. So there was a lot of little flags that led people like Warrior Brian over here to go, oh God, this could be, really, really bad thing. So my bad if I fudded that on you. I didn't mean to. Well, it could have been bad, and then I'd been like, yeah, I'm right. But yeah. So, but yeah, just something to keep an eye on. OpenSSL stuff. Hey, Beta Wolf, how you doing? Just saying hi and then hang out. Okay. Check out the VOD, Beta Wolf. Appreciate you coming and hanging out. Hope everything's doing well with you. If you're hiring Beta Wolf, let me know. I have a friend who's in dire straits. The highest vuln was on the SOX proxy. Yeah, exactly. It was. Let me see, lib curl. Yeah, it won't be the last time I type in another window. Lib curl news. I saw an article today about it being complete nothing burger. What was that? Is that in my? I think that was into my email. Yeah. See, Security Week was duped as well. What was it? Detections? Yeah. So here we go. Yeah. So 20 billion installations worldwide. It's not a zero sum. It's very popular. It affects both curl and libcurl. It's a heap overflow in the SOX proxy handshake. So you have to use a SOX 5 proxy. It has to be a long enough domain name. There's so many things. Like, yeah, it's conceivable the technical barrier is not excessively high for attackers with a certain level of expertise. But it also requires you to be running the SOX. I believe it's a slow SOX 5 proxy. I believe it has to be running in a certain configuration on the client itself for that to happen. So there's a lot of things that had to happen to make this occur. So it was good to be able to tell management that was one less thing we had to deal with. So yeah. If there were 2 flaws, we only heard about the one. We didn't even see the second one. So, or maybe let me see, what was the second one? Several years, minuscule risk. Let me see if I can pull that one up and see if it's any different. Oh, insert cookies at will. So this one may have actually been a worse one than the SOX 5 stuff. This flaw allows an attacker to insert cookies at will into a running program using libcurl. Now, see, that one could be bad, right? I think maybe we lost all of the, we missed this one, forest of the truth. Being able to insert data basically into a running program using libcurl, that's not bad. If a transfer has cookies enabled when the handle is duplicated, cookie state enable state is also cloned, but without cloning the actual cookies. The source handle did not read any of the cookies from a specific file on disk. The cloned version of the handle store the file name as none. Oh, okay. Well, it's hot garbage too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There's some additional bits that have to be done there. This one they didn't even bother putting a base score on this one this time just yet. So, okay. Okay. I thought I was. Let me see. Let me see. Sometimes different customer portal. Okay, so they only gave it a 5. So Red Hat only gave it a 5. So it is what it is. That's a shame. Okay. Yeah. Network attack, high complexity. It does require a little bit of work. You'd have to be on the system, I think, to be able to inject those cookies in to a process, which means you've got some sort of access anyway. Yeah, user actions required. So yeah, that's another thing. So, okay. Let's see. What do we want to talk about? That's that. That's done too. I talked about meds. Go back to Feedly here. I haven't seen a Sockville survey in a while. Where are they at? Maybe he took vacation. Maybe he took vacation. Let's see what's going on. When was the last one here? Let's see. 1 October. Okay, so there hasn't been one in a few weeks. Just wanted to see if I maybe had missed it. Cyber Resilience Guide. I'm thinking C2 tier proxy servers. Oh, wow. Yeah, proxy. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do that. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Organizations must place a stronger focus on password security practices. 1.8 million admin credentials by Outpost 24 found a basic default passwords were used by IT staff with highly predictable terms. Sure. I mean, this was so I actually it was when I was talking to my doctor in the hospital, I was like, I used to do audits on hospital systems. I did it for about 8 months. It was kind of a contract position. Actually, no. All right, I've been real today. So I was fired from that job probably because I mixed up 2 reports for 2 different customers. I said that one customer hadn't implemented a DLP solution when in fact they had a full DLP solution. And I was briefing the CISO of that major hospital system. And the guy stops me in the middle. He's like, "Hey, Bob, what the fuck?" And I was like, and yeah, so this was a long-standing customer with this audit system, and yeah, I messed that up. So that was probably one of the guiding reasons of why. And it was because reports sucked, and I didn't want to do them, which sounds petulant, but it was boring as shit because it was like they were all doing just Terabad at the time. So weird, weird, weird. All this stuff keeps coming back about. Oh yeah, that was probably why I was let go at that job. If I'd have just known about that. So, 1 second. All right. Yeah. So I'm not surprised password reuse or super simple passwords are a thing. These admin passwords are probably used numbers of times a day, and they're used by multiple people, so somebody can't have a unique password for these things. This is this feels like a hygiene thing, right? Having admin accounts for each admin, having a non-admin account for each admin that they use for things. This is all separation, right? Um, I was just seeing that on Twitter the other day. Somebody was like, if you have a work computer and it's involved in a lawsuit, all of your personal stuff on that laptop is now fair game. So if you've got personal address stuff, if you've been running a side business on your phone, on your laptop, anything for e-discovery on that laptop is discoverable. So it's like, don't do private shit on your work computer, right? Because you have no expectation of privacy. But I mean, back to this, top 20 administrator passwords are pretty much the same as the top 10 worst passwords I think they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, admin 1, 2, 3 password. There's a it can't happen to us kind of feel to it. It feels like, or you have 5 different admins and they all have the same password because they can't organize that stuff. Um, they don't want to have to open up a password locker that the team runs 15 times a day to copy paste a 35 character password with upper lower number special in there. As a SOC analyst, I would say no, we see most of the privacy and not. I'm assuming there's more to that comment there, but yeah, you'll see it all, right? Yeah, there's no privacy on a laptop. They have got access, and you shouldn't expect any privacy on there. I mean, I remember being in the Navy having the AUP banners that popped up because DISA required them. It's like, this is a DoD system. You should expect monitoring. You should not expect privacy. I know that's, I think, legal in EU, but there's still things that you have to do to make it happen. But yeah, I learned after my job at Xerox. I actually I'm still finding stuff in my YouTube or my G Drive, my Google Drive, because I'd mixed across the streams, right? And I still find text files or change management logs or something in there from 15 years ago when I worked at other places. Nothing's PI, nothing PII or anything, but it's like, oh yeah, there's a firewall config log or something like that. It's like, son of a bitch, what was I thinking? So at some point I'll nuke that Google Drive and then it'll all go away. But yeah, proxy logs with TLS inspection, right? Yeah, I mean, and if you're a SOC, Ange, does your team have the ability to intercept? Is that what you're talking about? You're inspecting the TLS connections through some kind of intermediary that yeah, okay, yeah, yep. Nothing is secret. Nothing is, and it's transparent. It's a transparent proxy, so it does it on the fly and then inspects the traffic and then re-encrypts it on the other side. Inadequate password security. Yes, okay. We're not knowing anything we don't already know. We do things as shortcuts for conveniences. We'll deal with it later. Probably used an admin password, admin, or admin 12356 on Cisco web UI. So that's rough. So I was actually supposed to go to a conference today. There was something called FutureCon in San Diego. So yeah, this was interesting. These are ones that I would normally eschew, not go to, because they're CISOs and senior level executives. But it's one of those things. It's like you hang out with the people you want to be, right? I love going to the DEF CON meetups. I like going and hanging out with in the trenches security people. But I realize that I'm not going to be ever an in the trench security person anymore. And so going to these events that allow me to network with other folk is something that I needed to do. So I could add 10 CPEs, but it was like after my meeting with my doctor and some of the meetings I had today. I was like, man, it's glad I didn't go because work was a pain in the ass today. But I could have gone. I could have done the virtual bit. Actually, I should have done the virtual. It's still going on right now for the next couple hours. I should have joined it at least for some part of the day. But yeah, there's all these kinds of events. So many cybersecurity events I didn't know go on and are made by these companies that aren't hacker events. They're cybersecurity conferences. There was one, NDSS is another one that happens. No, not that. Security. Yeah, here we go. Network and Distributed System Security in 2024. I want to go to this one, but it's like $1,100 for a ticket. It's not cheap, but it's in a really nice place. It's at one of the resorts down here in San Diego. So it's very Usenix-like, if you know what Usenix is. So yeah, they do CFPs. They're talking about vehicle security and privacy. They have all kinds of university folks come in and talk about stuff, and yeah, but it's not cheap. So I'm trying to get my boss and management to hook me up with that one. No logs, no crime. Yeah, well, yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. So, but yeah, there's a lot of conferences that aren't hacker conferences that trying to get plugged into. There's quite a few here in the Southern California area that I want to get in join with. But I also wanted to go to HushCon, but I wasn't going to be able to swing that, so I'm trying to go to B-Side Seattle next April, I think. I can turn it into a work trip as well. So, oh my goodness. Okay. I'm actually really happy that my computer's not shit in the bed like it had done in the past. So this is nice. Hoping to be on Friday. We're going to go back and do some Rust stuff. Some of the Rust, when I switched from Rust, from not Rust, but when I switched to Rust from Python and the other system I was using, some of that was I found it boring, and I was like, it's not working. It's making me uncomfortable because I'm sitting here talking to you, and it's not working, whatever. So yeah, we'll see how all that goes as well. I still want to do some Rust stuff, so it's working. It'll be working. So let me see anything else. Let's go look in the infosec news here. JetBrains vulnerability. Okay, JetBrains. JetBrains is a Diamond Sleet. Ooh, Diamond Sleet and Onyx Sleet. Okay, so the North Korean actors. Software giant JetBrains. I don't know what a JetBrains. Oh, Java ID. Okay, that makes sense. I'd heard the name before. I just didn't know exactly what it did. Wow, based on profile of the victim to 2023, 42,793. We're just full of the CVEs today. You can tell these are later because they didn't give JetBrains like a range of stuff. So like the Cisco's, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Citrixes, they have like, oh, you're going to get 1,000 CVE numbers. So not every CVE number will be used in that list. So JetBrains. Okay, well we ended at 42,792. You get 42,793. This is a 9.8 critical. Okay. Another unoff RCE. This Metasploit. Oh, and it has a Metasploit module attached to it. Oh my hell. Okay, so I'll go check that one out. Authentication bypass vulnerability achieves unauthenticated remote code exec against a vulnerable JetBrains TeamCity server. All versions of TeamCity prior to 2023.05.4 are vulnerable. Well, there you go. How often do people update their TeamCity servers? I'm betting that that's some kind of critical infrastructure that's like mission critical, and we can't patch that. That kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, hey, Walt. They do Python, PHP, Ruby, and C# as well. Oh, okay. Different IDEs then. So anyway, so this is how simple it is. It's in Metasploit. That's how bad it is. With it being a 9.8 and they have a POC in Metasploit, that's bad for me. I mean, that's like all you have to do is install Kali Linux and you have Metasploit, and you just take this, copy paste this in as a module, and you're solid. So Mm-mm-mm. Oh, that's not good. So, Walt, let me ask you a question. You know about Team City. How often does it get patched and updated? I'm snickering because it feels like that's something that has to be up all the time and doesn't actually get a lot of patches. Kind of like a Jenkins server or something, but different, obviously. Mm, 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 mm. Microsoft did not respond to requests for comment about what organizations were attacked in the campaigns and what the overall goal was. It's a CI/CD server and a code for code repo and stuff, according to Mr. Walt. Depends on the team. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Group went after manufacturing organizations, banks, schools, and event and meeting planning companies, demanding ransoms of up to 5 Bitcoin. Diamond Sleet focuses on espionage, data theft, financial gain, network destruction, targeting media, IT services, and defense related entities around the world. Microsoft revealed it was targeting organizations in Russia, one of North Korea's few allies. Man, talk about biting the hand it feeds, you know what I mean? Caused significant alarm among researchers who explained it can be used by hackers to take over development pipeline, allowing them to move through companies' internal network and do extensive damage. If they have access to the pipeline too, they could also add code changes similar to what was it, Kaseya SolarWinds, whichever one, but they were able to inject that onto a developer's laptop. You could do something similar here where you could get inside the development pipeline and modify some code or do what have you. Again, I'm ignorant, so if that's not something that's legit, please let me know in chat. But that's what it feels like for me. Having access to your CI/CD pipeline and code repos, that's not good. That's not good times. All right, let's see what else. Oh, the 23andMe thing. We talked about that last Sunday last. The only thing we could think of is you could clone somebody with that information eventually in the future, or blackmail attempts or something like that. Oh no. Ex-Navy IT head gets 5 years for selling data on dark web. That's not nice. Marquis Hooper, a former U.S. IT manager, 5-year sentence, 5 months in prison, illegally obtaining U.S. citizens' PII and selling it on the dark web. He was indicted along with his wife, Natasha Chalk, in February 2021 and pled guilty to aggravated identity theft. He opened an online account with a company maintaining a database containing millions of PII of people. Service, which was not named, was used by legitimate businesses and agencies that require lawful access to run background checks and confirm identities. I wonder if that's LexisNexis or something like that. That's what it sounds like. I could be wrong. Background check. Yeah, it has to be one of those identity systems like LexisNexis or what have you. Hoopin falsely claimed 7th Fleet, which he served as a chief. Come on, man. Come on, chief. Don't do that. Required access to its database to conduct background checks on Navy personnel. Shitbag. Oh, as an unnamed co-conspirator regained access to the database following a similar procedure, then offering to pay him $2,500 a month for renting him to access to the new account. Only 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. That's crazy. Well, his wife got 5 years, right? No, he was. And Chalk currently faces 20 years in prison and is scheduled to. Okay, so his wife can get 20 years in prison for being a conspirator. That's really weird. So he actually did the dirty. He only got 5 years. She may have did more. Maybe it was in terms of scale. Maybe he gave her the stuff, but then she took and went like batshit insane with it. But yeah, 20 years in prison and $250,000 in fines. Wow, that's a lot. So, well, that's not good. Chief petty officer, man. You expect them to be better, but I don't know. I've met a lot of crap chiefs in the Navy, so I mean, some of them were just incompetent, but there were some really good chiefs. But it's unfortunate to see because usually those are the folks that are like you. For those of you who were in the Navy, it's like when you make chief, it's like you're. I don't want to say God, but it's like, man, you're like there. It's just like you're something more than just an enlisted person at that point. I heard about this one. What's this with the Synology stuff? Let me see. Count Takeover Team 82 and discovered the use of weak random number generator in their disk manager software. Okay, all right. So I have a Synology. Actually, had two Synologies before I moved. I have one of the older 414s. Weak random number generator Synology's DSM, Linux-based operating system running on the company's NAS products, right? Insecure math random method was used to generate the password of the admin password for the NAS itself. Don't roll your own encryption. Don't roll your own auth. Under rare conditions, an attacker can leak enough information to restore the seed of the pseudo-random number generator, reconstruct the admin password, and remotely take over the account. Again, this is another one of those things where I think this is one of those ones where you can actually hook it up to Synology's cloud service. I never did that either. So the minute they were like, oh, convenience and whatever, I was like, yeah, no, I'm out on that. I tend to use something like SyncThing. I use SyncThing for this, which is it used to be called was it BitTorrent Sync, I think, but then they named it something else. Or this is a different implementation. I think it might be a different implementation, but it's very similar to some kind of file management, cross networks and things like that. Math random does not provide cryptographically secure random numbers. Do not use them for anything related to security. Use web crypto API instead, and more precisely window.crypto.get random values method. Okay. So if you have a Synology at home and you use their cloud service, and if you're paranoid enough, you might want to change your or patch your stuff. So these GUIDs can be leaked, used by attackers to reconstruct the seed of the PRNG when the password is generated. Since the GUID is generated using math.floor 16 times math random, additional sophistication is needed to restore the full state of the seed. Okay. Well, you can go read that one. That one's there's some math involved, so you can go and check that out. No, that's the 920. Oh, great. There's an ad here. Oh no, that's a 920 that they have. I have one of the old 414s. So, yep, I remember that week. Okay. So yeah, they go through the whole thing. So proof concept and everything. That's pretty sweet. Okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah, you can go read through that one if you want to. Team 82. I don't know who that is. Patch management tools. EPA turns off taps on water utility cyber regulations. They withdraw the water cybersecurity requirements. Why is that? Facing potential cascade of legal challenges from industry groups and state attorney generals. Oh. What were they trying to do? Require water systems to include cybersecurity evaluation for operating technology and industrial control systems. Oh. So they wanted to know what they were doing for the cybers when they were doing their audits. Okay. Yeah. Say adding that the ask is truly not hard or expensive to meet. The exercise would allow federal government to determine the extent to which support through grants, for example, should be allocated. But the blowback was Republican law, whatever. Cleaning up our water is hurting Iowa's small town. Okay, whatever. Commends the issue. Stay. Okay, so they don't really say why, other than it's going to hurt small towns, or what they believe is small towns problems here. Yeah, water tax systems were carried out by low-skilled actors and hacktivists. Hey, Digital Warhead, welcome. Hello. Yes, Digital Warhead. Um, Part of the reason I streamed today was because you asked for it. But you asked for it, kind of. But I really wanted to stream too because I missed yesterday. I told the doctor I was like, I love doing the streams, and I would have been streaming right now if I wasn't coming to see you. And that's not that's not a blame thing. It's when she was available, so I was like, I'm willing to forego that. But it was like, it's just what happens. So we don't necessarily have to have cyber regulations for our water treatment systems and water plants yet. So eventually something will happen where people will be outraged and we'll have to put something in place. But we'll figure it out. So yeah. Wow, a lot of vulnerabilities this week. Apple Safari copy within. There's a 38600. A lot of stuff. I made a quick and dirty DLL spoofer in Python for DLL hijacking. This Python script scans a DLL's exports and created a duplicate CPP DLL template. All exported functions are reused and pops a simple message window. Additionally, on DLL attach, we execute the first exported function. All right, well, I guess if you need an easy way to spoof DLLs, this is a way of doing it for testing. Oh, WinRARs. People are still exploiting WinRAR. Government says it's Google. Google says it's still catching government-backed groups linked to China and Russia launching WinRAR attacks, exploits, and targeted attacks. Okay. So 38.831. So if you haven't updated your WinRAR yet, you probably should have, because China and Russia are using it for naughty bits and naughty things. So cybercrime groups began exploiting it in early 2023. The flaw allows attackers to execute arbitrary code when a user attempts to view a benign file, such as a PNG within the zip archive, has been known. Okay, so it's use WinRAR to view a PNG file inside a zip archive. The aristocrats. Hours after the blog post was released, proof of concept exploit generators were uploaded to public GitHub repos. Shortly after that, TAG began observing testing activity from financially motivated and APT actors targeting 2023 38.831. Yeesh. Maybe they need to check security news. 100% Ange. Yeah. Goodness. I haven't used WinRAR since I can't remember the last time. It must have been Windows XP, or it had to have been 7 probably, and then I found PZIP, PEAZIP, and then I found 7-zip, and now I just use regular Windows 11-zip because it handles 7-zip files, RAR files, zip files, which is all I really need, or even tar files and tar GZ files. So I don't even need that anymore. Been using 7-zip since Win 7. Yeah. I mean, it's a nice, simple interface, so it's definitely a nice tool to have. I used 7-zip for a long time, and then I was like, oh, maybe this isn't future proof. What happens if I move over to a different system? I'll have to have 7-zip my whole life. By that time, I think zip had been added to as one of the systems inside of Windows 7 or 8 or something like that. So it is good for checking checksums. Yeah, that is really good. How to check if the WinRAR has execution embedded. There you go. That's a good one. That's a good link. There you go, Ange. Thank you so much. Go add this. Sometimes Security Week has very little content, or it's just, hey, click here and read this again. So yeah. Um, let's see what else. Black Cat climbs the summit with a new tactic. Some TTPs from some place called Black Cat, or no, somebody actor called Black Cat. Ugh. Unit 42, our good friends over Unit 42. Black Cat operators new updates to their tooling, including a utility called Munchkin that allows attackers to propagate Black Cat payload to remote machines and share on victims' organization network. Past 2 years, Black Cat ransom operators have continued to evolve and iterate their tooling as part of their RAS business model. So, good write up here on how that works for Black Cat, including some Yara rules at the bottom if you want to add those to your already girthy list of girthy. Maybe girthy is not a good word to use. Maybe lengthy. We'll use lengthy. Girthy is just, it's like moist and girthy. I don't know why those are words that bother me when I say them. um, what I love is I don't know who does the writing, but the diagrams are really nice. And it's like, I don't know, maybe they have an AI that does it for them, but it's like, those are really nice diagrams. Somebody must do them. They must hire a graphic designer or somebody on site to be able to do these things. You know? I said girthy. Yeah, digital warhead. Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff in here on this one. So MS Paint. No, come on, not MS Paint. Wow, that's really nice if it was MS Paint, but yeah, I'm thinking like SVG kind of stuff, like Inkscape or what have you. So, but yeah, I mean, somebody makes those, or they just redo these. I wonder if you'll find one for Black Cat, and it's like, oh, well, we use the same one from Blue Panda or something. We just changed the icon here and change that there, so because they all kind of work the same, right? So anyway, yeah. So glad to be back. Glad everything is working out. If y'all missed the first 20 minutes of the VOD, I recommend you go back and check them out, especially if you've got some, you're struggling with mental health issues. Just know you're not alone. And I think I'm gonna go because it's about dinner time. I want to go see what my wife wants to do, and interesting. Um, I just got a signal message. Oh, the signal thing also was a big nothing burger recently too. There was something about turning off link preview, which I found interesting because it showed up on Twitter. I don't know if it was people were trolling or what it was, but it was like disable link preview because it, and they also referenced WebP, and I was like, well, Signal on the desktop is an Electron app, and I think they talked about an old vuln too. Okay, have a great bye, Ange. Have a good one. But yeah, over the weekend there was the Signal thing. Hey, disable link preview, which I think on the mobile app is under chats. So if you go into Signal and you go to settings, so on the 3-digity hamburger thing, and then you go under, so you go where, oh no, screen, oh, bad screen, bad screen, bad. So there's the chats bit right there in your settings, and then it says generate link previews. You can turn that off. And I think the point was, I don't know if you can send a link preview with like a WebP file, and maybe that's something that would crash the desktop version because it's an Electron app. Because libwebp is also a dependency for Electron apps, a lot of Electron apps, including 1Password, Slack, those kinds of things. But then the Signal team came out and said, we have no knowledge of this vulnerability. It's not really a vulnerability. And then Kim Zetter came out and said, why are they saying this? So it was like, it was either somebody that I have no idea who said, hey, this is really bad, disable this thing. Then you got Signal saying no, and then you got Kim Zetter coming back and saying, hey, we need to verify this. There was real weird communication on this, and I don't know why Signal. It's yet another encryption chat program. Um, it's one reason I don't try to convince people to use them, because Wire, Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, FB Messenger with uh, turning off your with destruction of the messages and whatever. There's just so many of them, and it's really hard to get people to want to use them. I don't. I gave up a long time ago trying to convert my family over to them. Not my wife and daughter, because we don't use it there either. My wife and I use FB Messenger or whatever. But trying to convince my mother, hey, use this program. Why? Because it's more secure. What do I got to worry about? I actually don't know. And after a while, it's just like, yeah, okay, I got nothing, right? Um, it's hard to convince people when they've already got it set against them that they aren't worried about that security part. That's not part of their risk model, and I shouldn't be trying to impose their risk matrix on them. So um, after a while, they turned off the SMS portion in Signal, so it was less useful to me. I had trouble getting people, accepting SMS messages and receiving them from people. So it was finally, I just quit using it. So I don't use it anymore. I've been using it a little bit more because a lot of people in security like doing it. So I think FB Messenger, I want to say that they have the ability to encrypt messages. If you wanted to go full bore, it would do end-to-end encryption. It would also do things like destruction of the messages, kind of like how WhatsApp does. They're is it ephemeral? Something like that. Whatever it means, like it'll delete. You can have it opt to delete itself after so many seconds or minutes or what have you. But yeah, it was just really weird to see that come from Signal, and there's still some weird messaging out there about that. I mean, a lot of people use Signal, so does it hurt to turn off the link preview? No. Um, and so I've turned it off just for shits and giggles in case somebody does try to send me a link. But yeah, it is what it is. So I'm gonna go though. Thank you so much, Digital Warhead, and Angie. Thank you so much. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Angie, for coming on. And Walt, CPO Parker. Thank you. Good to see you, Walt. Glad to see you coming back on and hanging out. And a handful of other folks. Oh, you know what? I haven't mentioned people in a while, so let me see. We have Artifex Umbra followed us. Def Mondo also followed the stream here. Sean86 White, Mr. Thin Ice, Cabell with a 1E, CABB 1E, Isilzha, ISILZHA 314. Isilsa. Oh, I do apologize for hurting your login name. That was not my intention. But yeah, thank you all for that. And yeah, I'm going to be back on Friday. Hope everyone has a good rest of their day. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves because you're the only you have. And, that's been no more true than this week for me. So it really is really started to hit home. So take care, y'all, and we'll see y'all later. Bye. Bye-bye.